Madonna. That's the nothing personal word of the day for Friday, June 20th, 2025. Like a virgin. Ooh, touched for the very first time. We are about to get a first-time NBA world champion this coming Sunday. Your weekend will end with absolute, unadulterated pleasure for either the Indiana Pacers or the Oklahoma City Thunder. The reason Madonna is the word of the day is that you may not realize the Thunder have already won one championship in 1979. Shout out to you, Jack Sikma. Freddie Brown downtown. Gus Williams. But the Seattle championship will stay with Seattle and go back to Seattle if and when Seattle ever gets an expansion franchise, which we'll find out later in the show may now cost a couple bill in expansion fees. But once Oklahoma City wins on Sunday, they will get to say, this is our first franchise championship because we are like a virgin. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Coca, last night I was rooting extremely hard for the Indiana Pacers because I have a small problem. This coming Sunday is my son's golden birthday. It's when you turn the age of the day of your birth. Got a reservation for a dinner at tip-off time at a restaurant that is difficult to get a reservation at. Got it. I'm excited. It's his birthday. I feel like I should go. But I may have made a small fatherly strategic mistake where prior to yesterday's game, I said, by the way, if there's a game 7, I don't know if I can come to dinner. 4869. If there's a game 7 Sunday night, I don't know whether I can come to dinner. And the response was, as the response would be of a son who has watched his father choose work over family time and time again, year after year. If you've got the time, we've got the beer. But now I'm thinking, Coco, maybe I just go to dinner holding my phone. The first game 7 since 2016. I'm not going to watch it? Do I ask for an earlier reservation time? The only thing earlier, my guess will be like 4:30. Or, and I've never done this. I don't think I've ever done this for a live event. Do I tape it and then hit watch from start while everybody else knows what's going on and just never look at Twitter or any box score? I guess I could do that. I don't know how I could have been rooting for Indiana any less. And they're hitting shots. You feel as though watching the game yesterday, 8-point lead, 10-point lead. Oklahoma City's throwing bricks left and right. It's fine. We're fine. They're going to have one of their runs. There's no way they want to play a game 7. And you're looking at Indiana picking them up at 94 feet. And you're looking at Oklahoma City with their turnovers. And you're thinking, wait a minute. This is not an upset. The Indiana Pacers have absolutely gone toe-to-toe with the Thunder after all of the people, including me, said Oklahoma City in 6 or 5. Oklahoma City and Indiana play the same kind of game. Oklahoma City just does it better. Everyone had the same analysis. Well, it looks like Oklahoma City and Indiana have the same game, except they do it equally. The Pacers went on a run at the end of the first half, and that was it. They were buried. When Shepard Coca hit that 3 at the end of the half at the buzzer, that was it. There was just, it didn't look like Oklahoma City could come back unless Indiana would go extremely cold. So the third quarter starts, and Oklahoma City and Indiana can't score a point. Indiana did exactly what was needed for Oklahoma City to win the title and send me to a birthday dinner absolutely without an issue. Except Indiana missed. Oklahoma City missed 1 minute by 2 minutes. Nobody's scoring. When you're down 20 and the team you're down 22 can't score for a period of 3 minutes, you'd be well advised not to go 4 minutes without scoring. So that was it. I'm looking at the role players on different teams because you need a bench. You need people to step up. TJ McConnell is my kind of player. When you're building a baseball team or building any sort of sports team, you need a TJ McConnell. You need someone who the other team can't stand, the other fans can't stand. He's an absolute gnat, a total pain in the neck. But he's just in every play, wins every loose ball, hustles every second of the clock, never takes a possession off, has basketball IQ off the charts. What a game. Shout out to my friend at CBS, Tim Doyle, who made you smarter by telling you that TJ McConnell was going to have a good game, and boy, did he ever. The Thunder could not take care of the ball. They turned the ball over 21 times. Coca and I were looking at the box score before the show started. Hard to win a game when you take 18 fewer field goal attempts than your opponent, and very hard to win a game when you are 3 for 20 from 3 before garbage time and end up 8 for 30, as though that matters. They were 3 for 20 when the game had a chance to be a game. My wait to see is absolutely baked, Coca. On June 5th, 2025, the day of the game 1, I said OKC in 6. I told you I'd follow up. That's a no. So what are we looking for exactly on Sunday with the Pacers having forced this game 7? Couple things of note. 1, Oklahoma City generally wins by double digits, generally in whatever game they play this year, best ever. 2, Oklahoma City is the best home team. 3, Oklahoma City did not win game 1 at home because Halliburton, calf strain or not, was able to hit clutch shots at the end, including at the end. Halliburton and that calf strain MRI. You know what I was thinking, Coca? Did we get the results of Halliburton's MRI? Has that been disclosed that you've read anywhere or seen anywhere? Because as president of the Pacers, why exactly am I putting Halliburton in the tube? I have zero interest in knowing how bad the calf strain is. The minute I hear from Halliburton that he wants to play, which not all players do, and the minute I put Halliburton on the court and watch what he's doing, I could care less what the MRI says. You've got a grade 69 strain. You're out for 8 to 6 weeks. Great. Starting Monday. So Halliburton played yesterday. Spoiler alert, we'll get to our pick of the day, but we needed Halliburton to score 14 points. We don't know what he scored because we haven't looked at the box score. We didn't watch the game. We're not at all aware of what Halliburton in 3 quarters was able to score. But, man, we needed him only to score 14 points to get a pick of the day win. We'll see whether that happened later in the show. Wink, wink. It may have. I'm super excited for the first Game 7 in 2016, but I'm the second most excited person behind Adam Silver, who has to sit back and watch the game and realize that he is giving his new TV partners a gift from heaven, like manna has fallen in Oklahoma City, which may sound oxymoronic, but it's not. Could be, but it's not. Shout out to the Oklahoma City 89ers. Here's what's going to happen, Game 7. Just a quick little preview, is that the sections will be blue and white, which is the coolest arena I've seen, and it makes me wonder why I didn't do that in baseball when we were in the playoffs, because to do colors by section of shirts, it just makes it look so amazing and so organized, except the one Yutz who wears the gray shirt because he doesn't want to be seen in blue or white. Yeah, you know who I'm talking to because you're probably watching this. You know, in that section in Game 5, sitting in the gray shirt. Come on, man. Thunder are going to get off to a good start because they can't possibly shoot worse or turn the ball over the way they did in Game 6. Just like we told you, Boston can't shoot that badly over multiple games against the Knicks in the second round before Tatum tore the Achilles off his bone. There's no way it's going to happen. We didn't do a show yesterday, but I did a couple shows, but nothing personal. Check out the Dominique Foxworth show. It's being released probably as we talk. Pablo Torre and I went on yesterday and recorded and we got to talk about the Lakers sale, and I may have withheld just a little bit of information. I'm just kidding, Dominique. But I do want to talk about what happened this weekend. It's not a weekend. Today's not Monday. Let's do that one more time. Does it not feel like a Monday? I spent all day yesterday thinking that it was Sunday. Here we go. 4, 8, 6, 9. Just a couple days ago, it was announced that the Lakers are being sold by the Buss family to the owner of the Dodgers for what people are reporting is $10 billion. $10 billion is a healthy number and completely unsubstantiated. We do not know exactly what the total valuation is of the Lakers. There have been absolutely numerous media reports and people taking credit for having the scoop of what percentage is exactly being sold by the Buss family to Mark Walter and his group. Mark Walter was already an owner of the Lakers. Little known fact there, Normie. Mark Walter is taking majority control of the Lakers. He is not writing a $10 billion check. Even if he were buying 100% of the Lakers, he would not be writing a $10 billion check. As an enterprise value, don't forget you have to subtract the debt and any other purchase price adjustments in a purchase of a team. Purchase price adjustments can be in the form of an out-of-market contract or some sort of obligation of the existing owner that would not carry over to the new owner. So $10 billion is not the number that Walter is solving for. But wherever he gets his money, whether it's the Middle East or whether it's his mattress, he is going to figure out, along with the Buss family, how this is going to work. And what we're already hearing is that Jeannie Buss, the current governor who won a power struggle with her brothers after the dad died, she is the governor of the team. She fired her brother. Succession style, baby. He was doing like player personnel stuff and he would make trades and not tell her about it or stuff that she didn't approve. And she was like, hey, see you later, bro. And not in a negative way did she call him that. And in order for the Buss kids to sell, they had to vote. And they have never been able to agree to sell the team at any price to anyone until now, where they've agreed that it's time to take some cash off the table. The concept of being asset rich and cash poor is a concept that many people have that you wouldn't think have, because you would just assume, my God, that person's rich. And then you realize that, well, wait a minute, they don't have a lot of actual money to spend. They have things that are worth money. But if you don't sell something that's worth money, you can't use cash. Now, you can mortgage it. You can borrow against it. You can use it as collateral, except when you own a sports team, you are using much of that sports team as collateral for your existing debt. So, for example, in baseball, there's something called the league-wide credit facility, which is money that is borrowed using a national TV contract and your share of it as collateral. I swear to God, I'll pay you back. But if I don't, you can have my 1/30th share of all national revenue. But I want to borrow more money. All right, I'll put my tickets, food, beverage, merchandise, and my local TV deal in a pot, and I'll use that as collateral. Well, but what if nobody shows up to your games? All right, I'll put my own net worth as collateral of this debt. So there's so many different levels of debt that franchises have, that people have, that sometimes you say selling the underlying asset makes the most financial sense. Let me do a transaction where I can realize liquidity. Liquidity is when you have the ability to go buy a car, a boat, a piece of art, a house, something, not with debt, with actual money that you have in your bank. Now, of course, people are very complimentary of the fact that the Buss family bought this team at $67.5 million, and now they're selling it at $10 billion. That is quite a capital gain. What they're ignoring is that when Dr. Jerry Buss died, you get what's called a step-up in basis. So the kids are not paying a tax based on something bought for 67 million and now selling for 10 billion. If they were, just say that's a $10 billion gain. Let's say that your capital gains rate, just for purposes of this conversation, 20%, you're losing $2 billion off the top. But of course, they're not getting 10 billion. They're not paying 2 billion in taxes. The basis of their team is done the day Jerry Buss dies. What's the team worth? And when he died in 2000 and, Coke will have it, whatever it is, I want to say 13 or 14, something like that. The team clearly was not worth 10 billion, but they argued at the time, and I'm sure got a very healthy step up in basis. What is happening in LA is a transaction that has not been approved by the league at all. There is nothing signed. You can bet your sweet bippy because you only sign it once the league approves it. But there was a rumor again, and I'm going to call it the CR. It's my new favorite term. The Cuban rumor. The Cuban rumor is that Mark Cuban was selling the Mavericks and he was going to keep control of the basketball operation and still be the governor, which means the controlling owner when you're in an owner's meeting and you get to vote on behalf of your team. And we told you on Nothing Personal that was complete horse hockey. And we were mocked from coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Except we turned out to be right. Because the rule in basketball is a pretty simple rule. You can't be the governor unless you're the majority shareholder. You can't be the governor unless you are out front, you own a higher percentage than anyone, and you are a majority. That was the whole issue, by the way. Side note, when you're putting together transactions and teams are being sold and they're using private equity or they're using Middle East money, whatever it is they're using, and you have to find a way to raise more money on your own. Is this sounding familiar, Celtics fans? When the deal had to change because Jazz Chisholm had to raise, not Jazz Chisholm, that's funny, Bill Chisholm. Give me a break. It's Monday. When Bill Chisholm, it's Friday. When Bill, hi, I'm David Samson. All right, I'm good. When Bill Chisholm originally was doing the transaction for Boston at what people are reporting at 6.1 billion, which is not true. It's a step transaction, and it's already firm what the steps are and when and at what valuation. It's not hopeful that the Celtics will be worth more one day. The Celtics are being sold today for a blended price above 6.1. And you're reading in every article the Celtics sold at 6.1 billion. That's just wrong, period. But Bill Chisholm did not own enough of the Celtics to be the governor because he was taking money from these firms. It had to be changed, and it was. Same thing here. Mark Walter will be the governor of the team, not Jeannie Buss. No matter what Jeannie Buss keeps, and the rumor is the family's keeping 15%. Whether it's true or not, it makes no difference. Jeannie Buss herself will not own a majority of the team. She will not be the largest shareholder. She will not be the governor. And if you think that Mark Walter and his partners are buying the team for 10 billion, the Athletic said it could be 12 billion. It could be 20 billion. I don't care what it is. You're going to spend that amount of money and say, hey, we're good here. I'm too busy doing Andrew Friedman's job and Stan Kasten's job in LA. I don't have time to do your job too. I'm going to stand over both franchises and just go full Paul McCartney. Let it be, let it be. No. Stop believing what you read. Jeannie Buss will remain the governor for years. Give me a break. Now, why would the Lakers so far surpass the Celtics? Let's just take what we know to be true. Let's say the Celtics are 6-1, but they're not. Let's say they're 7-1. Now we're getting closer. And let's say that the Lakers are 10, which they're not. Say they're 12, or say they're 9, as an enterprise valuation. What would explain the Lakers having such a higher value than the Celtics? Is it free operating cash flow? Because they make so much more money as a team, as an operation? Could be. Could it be the fact that their TV deal is a league high $184 million a year? That could be. And by the way, that's only growing. That's possible. Could it be that there is some sort of amazing thing that you can do when you own two franchises where you can combine sales forces, you can combine back of the house, you can even combine ticket operation staff, sales, marketing, finance. You can cut expenses by having one person in one department do two jobs, two teams. Not impossible. It could be that there's an opportunity for Mark Walter to run LA. That could be one of the motivations. It could be there's a motivation of some fund in the Middle East who's saying, I really, really want to get into sports in LA. Please, I'll give any amount of money you want. I just want to be a part of the Lakers. Could be. There is no more franchise in the NBA. And I would say, Coca, and this is going to get dicey. If we had to say which franchises had the most brand equity in all professional sports. Brand equity means that there's just something about the halo effect that when you're a part of that brand, that you just get a huge benefit in other parts of your business, in other parts of your world. Lakers are top 5, obviously. Do you put them above the Celtics? Do you put the Cowboys above everybody else? Are the Knicks in that top 5? There's no hockey team in that top 5. There's no baseball team in that top 5. The Dodgers may be close. The Yankees are above the Dodgers, though. Are the Yankees a top 5 brand? We'll give the Yankees top 5, not the Mets. But now we're naming too many teams. Yankees, Celtics, Lakers, Cowboys, Giants, Knicks. That sounds a lot like LA, New York, New York. This is going to take some time, folks. They're going to try to get this done before the start of next season, but it is going to require. Way to go, Ken. The second light just came on board. That's a little behind the scenes where I've got so much technology in front of me, and I'm totally alone right now, except I've got Coca in one ear. I've got RG Systems, the great tech company from Meadowlark, in my other ear where I don't have an IFB. I've got some lights that work, some that don't. Once in a while, the microphone doesn't work, and I'm just like, and sir, $10 billion. How do you feel about 1.7 billion? It's a good number. I feel great about 1.2 billion that I got for the owner of the Marlins when I was selling that franchise. I think the Rays are despondent beyond repair that they announced on the same week, the same day, that they're selling their team for $1.7 billion, and the Lakers went for $10 billion, same news cycle. I'm talking, of course, about the moment that everyone's been waiting for. Will you put that, Coca? Can we edit that for a clip right next to this? We're talking about a moment that no one has been waiting for. How much are we excited that the Tampa Bay Rays are finally selling? Stu Sternberg, couple rumors about this that aren't true. 1, MLB is forcing Stu Sternberg to sell. Wrong. 2, Stu Sternberg has entered into a sales agreement and a purchase agreement with a guy named Patrick Zalupski. Wrong. He's entered into an exclusive negotiating period. An exclusive negotiating period is when you are selling your team and you have a group of buyers, 2, 3, 4 different buyers. And you look at one of the buyers and you say, hi, I am happy to negotiate with only you for the next 90 days. But if we don't consummate our relationship and go full Madonna, then I would like a breakup fee because I will have wasted 3 months moving forward with the other groups, and some of those other groups may not want to wait for me. Therefore, I will give you this right to exclusively negotiate with me, but you will pay me if we do not get a signed deal that is approved by baseball. That is what's happening with the Rays. They've chosen a group that they want to go exclusive with. Newsflash. The Marlins did the same thing. And guess what? The exclusive negotiating period was not with Bruce Sherman and Derek Jeter. It was with a different group, a never identified group. Why? Because we were interested in an exclusive negotiating period to see if that group would go higher than any of the other groups. And when they didn't, then you go back to the other groups and say, are you sure you don't want the team? Well, we definitely want the team. All right, that'll be 1.2. You sure? Yep. The Rays are going through the same thing. Everyone's excited because does this mean they're building in Tampa? Are the Orlando Dreamers and Barry Larkin so upset because there is definitely going to be a stadium in Tampa? I don't know where you're getting that, nor do I think that you should read into this transaction as a guarantee that there'll be a new facility in the Tampa region. What it does mean is what we speculated all along. There will be no stadium in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is off the table. You might as well start building the affordable housing, the hotels, the commercial real estate. Do it now. You are not getting the anchor tenant. Spend that money to fix the Trop. Might as well take that money and flush it down the toity bowl. But spend it. Get the Trop ready. Let the Rays play there another couple of years. You may get a one-year extension out of it if they can't get a stadium built elsewhere. Or could it be that Tampa would move to Sacramento to play in the AAA park after the Avs move to Vegas in that on-time building in 31 months that's being built on 9 acres? Wow, that would be something. That would be the woman from PTFO who spins the 50 plates while on a unicycle. People are concerned, very concerned right now that the new owner of the Rays may not be wealthy enough. He's a home builder, by the way. And one of the people in the group, our AA team, that then was our AAA team, was a team in Jacksonville. And they weren't called the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp back then, Coca. I don't exactly remember what they were called. Ken Babby is the owner of that team. He is rumored to be in the group that is buying the Rays. And it's hard not to think of the possibility of the Tampa Rays moving to Jacksonville to share a stadium with the Shrimp for a year while the new building is being built in Tampa or Orlando or somewhere. Though it would be not perfect for Major League Baseball. This entire situation is not perfect, other than we have the possibility of a deal with a new owner in Tampa where there is a possibility of a new stadium in Tampa with public officials who don't want to do business with Sternberg, but believe me, they would instead of losing their team. Hi, I'm aware of this. No one wanted to do business with us except we're all they had. Therefore, there was a deal done, and now we've got beautiful Marlins Park. So we are a couple years away from understanding the impact of a sale like this. It makes perfect sense for Mr. Sternberg, who is an investment banker, Wall Street guy, to get out of this team. They've had a hugely successful run from a value standpoint, but for them to risk spending money on their own ballpark, the way a John Fisher is in Oakland in theory, for them to risk that is not a wise use of pennies. Therefore, what you do is you sell and you get someone else to take on that obligation and that problem. And that's what the Rays will be doing. Now, baseball is in a funny position right now because they want to approve this transaction. There is some concern that Patrick Zalupski is not wealthy enough. There's concern that his money all comes from building homes. He's the CEO of Dream Finders Homes. Get it? It's your dream to find a home, and we'll charge you just a little bit over market. No, I'm not impugning him. You know that. But if there's any sort of housing recession, his net worth goes down, his revenue goes down, his company goes down. Not exactly Steve Cohen buying the Rays, which, by the way, is a positive for the Yankees and Red Sox and Orioles and Blue Jays. Two big-time transactions going on right now, and thinking about the Rays finally selling, thinking about the Lakers, who no one thought would be sold to Mark Walter, and you got yourself one heck of a week in sports business. All right, when we come back, we are going to review something and we're going to talk about another team that's for sale and why it's so funny that John Fisher is looking around everywhere for assets to sell because it turns out this stadium in Vegas may be more expensive than what he had ever dreamt. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is Friday, June 20th. This is show number 1300 of shows that are like this. We've done more than that in sit downs and mailbags and special episodes. But in terms of shows with words of the day and wait to sees and picks of the day, 1300 shows, Coca. Take a minute, please, to pat yourself on the back, which you never do. I'll take a minute in a sport coat from 6 years ago to try to raise my arm, pat myself on the back. But more importantly, a shout out to everyone watching, a shout out to everyone listening, staying with us for 1,300 episodes, people joining every single day, starting at zero. It's truly remarkable, Coca. It's time for the review. Watching movies. I love watching shows. I love content. I genuflect in the general direction of people who love me, like Mike Schur. And I'm so thankful for what they do that I get to enjoy. I watched the series on Apple TV Plus with John Hamm, big baseball fan. Olivia Munn, watch her in the newsroom. You may know her as being married to John Mulaney, but you should know her on her own accord. It's called Your Friends and Neighbors. Amanda Peet from Something's Gotta Give. It's a story about a man who seemingly has it all, working for a big company down on Wall Street in theory, very rich, living in the suburbs. She's having a baby style, mowing her lawn with John Ashton, going around, everything's normal, everything looks good. And then all of a sudden he realizes, wait a minute, this is suboptimal. My wife is having an affair with somebody, and now I may not have a job. Therefore, I have to keep pretending to keep up with the Bobby Joneses. So to do that, I better do something that may get my heart rate going, finally. It may give me a raison d'etre. Except it happens to be against the law because John Hamm turns into a thief. It is a show that has, in this season, 8 episodes, 9 episodes about divorce, about love, about money, about crime, about walking the moral line. And the reason it's called Your Friends and Neighbors is because sometimes your friends aren't your neighbors. Sometimes your neighbors aren't your friends. If you have neighbors who are friends and friends who are neighbors, all of a sudden you're thinking, is this like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? And then you realize it's not even close to that. It's more like Captain Kangaroo. It is well worth your time. It's called Your Friends and Neighbors. On Monday, I'm going to review a movie which I'm going to watch this weekend with Freddie Mercury. And I'm completely blanking right now. Rami Malek, Academy Award-winning actor Rami Malek, is in a movie called The Amateur. I saw that came out. You win an Oscar, I'm going to watch your next movie. Although he's been in a bunch since then. But I'm going to watch The Amateur, and I'll review that on Monday. All right, before we get to the San Jose earthquakes, which I had never, ever focused on how horrific a name that is. It's like naming a team the Tsunamis or the Tidal Wave. Who would do that? Naming someone the Flood. How about the Locusts or the Hail or the Frogs or the Impaling of Your Firstborn? The Milwaukee Impaling of Your Firstborn won the game 69-64 yesterday. Before we get to the San Jose earthquakes and what's happening in that organization, I want to remind you that every Wednesday we do a So You Want to Talk to Samson. We do a full hour of it for you, hour 2. Take a look at the board if you're watching. If you're listening, write this down. So You Want to Talk to Samson. I'm sitting in the glove chair right now as I speak. 631-377-4869. That number again, 631-DPS, David Philip Samson. NPDS, Nothing Personal with David Samson, See how it all comes together in a diamond logo? Thank you, Patrick. 631-377-4869. Leave a message. We play voicemails on Wednesdays, and they're funny. So I want a funny voicemail, but I want a good question as well, and you may make the show. When you owe people money, it doesn't matter if you're an individual or a company, or you're working on behalf of a company. None of it actually matters. When you owe money, you have a period of time with which to pay it back. If you get a mortgage, some people get 30 years, a 30-year mortgage. You have 30 years to pay back the money, but if you don't have all the money at the end of the term, you can do something called a refinance, and just borrow money again, pushing the term out even further. For crying out loud, Meatloaf, we do it with our national debt. We just push it out as far as we can go. Then we refinance it. And no one ever focuses on interest rates, which you should, because interest rates on a few trillion is not nothing. But what do you do when you need money now and you can't borrow anymore? You got to look around your house and say, oh, can I sell that? What about that? How much is that worth? John Fisher, the owner of the Aths, who's moving from Oakland to Sacramento to Las Vegas, while he is a billionaire, so you say, while his family started the Gap, so you say, while he's got plenty of shares of the Gap, so you say, well, he's got a huge foundation and very generous and does a whole bunch of things and investments and is just rich beyond any of our wildest dreams. Okay. Remember what we talked about with the Bus family? Sometimes you need cash. Well, John Fisher needs cash to build his stadium in Las Vegas. So he said, what can I sell? What's worth any money? Anybody want a little Picasso? Yeah, that's good for 80 million. Not quite enough. Because you see, all the talk in Vegas about public money, they only got $380 million. It's nothing. That ballpark is going to cost $1.7 billion at least. It's expensive to build in Vegas. Just ask Bugsy Siegel. It can cost you your life, though the Flamingo was really cool. So John Fisher said, I got to sell something else I own. How about the San Jose Earthquakes? They're an MLS team. I got an expansion. I spent $20 million on them. The team's worth $600 million. I'll have to pay capital gains tax, but I'm going to roll it over. I'm going to do great tax planning with great accountants named Ben Affleck, and I'm going to figure out how to do it. But man, I got to raise capital. So John Fisher has confirmed that he's putting his MLS club on the market. Now, here's what's funny. He's hired an investment bank to do it, to facilitate the sale. But you're going to have to pay them, John. I have a way better suggestion. Why don't you come on a show like a Nothing Personal or any other show, or go on SportsCenter, or go on DraftKings Network, or go on social media, raise your hand and say, I'm sure that the San Jose Earthquakes are for sale. Please, my number is 631-377-4869. Give me a call. We'll talk. We'll have some coffee. Instead, you hired an investment bank, what, to put the documents together, to put the due diligence room together, to do some projections for the buyer? Let the buyer do his own projections, or her, or their. You're using that investment bank to identify buyers of a sports team? Or are you trying to use that investment bank maybe to get you connections in the Middle East? You don't need that. They'll come to you. All you got to do is publicize your info. Or someone may just walk into a Gap store and say, is Farley or Spade there? Because, look, those pair of pants aren't folded. Don Garber had no choice but to give a quote, and it was a special one. On behalf of Major League Soccer, I want to thank the Fisher family for their long-standing commitment to the Earthquakes and the San Jose community. Under their leadership, the club invested in world-class facilities like PayPal Park, built a highly respected youth academy, and helped grow the game in one of the nation's most dynamic markets. Hallelujah. And now he's off to Vegas, where dreams come true. And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. John Fisher's making the right move. Absolutely the right move here. Why? When you need money, what exact choice do you have but to do a transaction like this. And the problem that's going on in Vegas right now, currently, is that they don't really know what the price of the ballpark is. Have you seen anything in writing about a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price? Have you seen anything that confirms cost of material? What you are reading about is a bunch of PR greatness, like a groundbreaking, which is solely for PR. That's it. You're not actually doing anything at groundbreaking, but taking photos with politicians and other stakeholders where you can say that all is going well. Remember that John Fisher has been trying to figure out how to get partners into the AFs at a $2 billion valuation. John Fisher, as you recall, did a deal with Aramark, the concessionaire, where people mistakenly said, oh, that makes perfect sense. They're investing in the team. And I told you that, while landmark as it may sound, what Aramark is doing is what is commonly done, where you are raising money to help in the construction cost. You are getting a concessionaire to build out the concessions. And the thing with Vegas and building stuff is that it's really hard to control the costs. In the last 6 months, the building has already gone up $250 million, and none of it's coming from the public. And the only way to build a building with a 31-month construction timeline is you're going to have some overtime and some extra shifts. You're going to have to do things somewhat in a sloppy way, which is going to cost you going forward. One of the ways that Marlins Park was on time and on budget is we were down to the final detail, down to where every outlet would be. Every chair was picked out, every carpet. We knew exactly how much steel we needed when we did the deal to procure the steel. We knew exactly the roof. We had everything done. We had subcontractors who had binding agreements to provide us with building materials that we needed. The reason why you have to do all that is even then, the likelihood of bringing that building in on time and on budget is still teensy-tiny because things happen. Whether it's owners deciding during the construction they want better areas and better amenities for themselves or others, whether there are provisions in your deals with subs where something happens that actually triggers one of the provisions that allows for a repricing. Can you imagine for 1 second if you're a sub and you get your items from overseas and you're subject to possible tariff issues that you're not going to put in your deal, that you've got some sort of wiggle room that any tariffs would be passed on to the team or shared 50-50 with the builder? There's all sorts of different provisions right behind me on the bookcase, which is not falling apart. If you're watching this on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, thank you. And I love your concern. But the shelves behind me, that's a good look for them. Now, they didn't come that way, of course. But what's on them is not altogether that heavy. It just looks that way. I don't know why I was just mentioning the shelves, Coca. I have no idea why that was even in my head. It's been that kind of show. It's a good thing you're coming for the second hour, I'll tell you that. John Fisher will get the San Jose Earthquakes sold. He will get them sold at a number close to the $600 million valuation. He will take the net proceeds and he will allocate them to the stadium using that cash as collateral to borrow as much money as he possibly can. But that man is more exposed than a ne'er-do-well in a trench coat at a park. It is a tough position to be in. Nothing personal pick of the day. Personal pick of the day is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Well, tonight we've got a game where those Rays are going against the Detroit Tigers. Detroit Tigers known as the best team in baseball. The Tampa Bay Rays have been playing very well, and with all the excitement of the franchise being sold, that gets down into the clubhouse, and the players get all excited and all of a sudden play better. Poppycock. They could care less. But we're still taking the Rays minus 116 over Jack Flaherty and the Tigers. Flaherty's been good. Don't get me wrong. Slightly inconsistent. The Tigers have been outstanding, but don't you sleep on the Tampa Rays because he couldn't care less. Did I say could? Said it twice? Well, that's because I'm tired and it's Friday. I mean, thank you for the correction. I don't even remember why I said he couldn't care less. Who was I even talking about? Oh, players who couldn't care less their teams being sold. Yeah, that's true, actually. No, they could care. No, they couldn't. All right, let's do that again. DraftKings wants a clean, nothing personal pick of the day to clip, so here we go. Nothing personal pick of the day presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We will be taking the Tampa Bay Rays minus 116, odds subject to change, over the Detroit Tigers. On Sunday, we are going with the Oklahoma City Thunder to win their second world championship in franchise history. They are favored by 8.5 points over the Pacers. At home, they are a juggernaut, and I expect them to be crowned champion and to hear some Queen. Oklahoma City minus 8.5 over the Pacers. And we've got a bonus wager. We loved Halliburton over 13.5, and we got that win last night. We're going to take Halliburton over 15.5. He only got 14 in Game 6. Game 7, no matter how it shakes out, I'm looking for Halliburton to score with his newly minted, fantastic, I don't care about the strained calf, over 15.5. But SGA's over-under is 33.5. I'm looking for the supporting cast to do what they do and for Holmgren to get double digits, even Hartenstein to get a few putbacks. I think that SGA goes under 33.5 while Oklahoma City still wins the game by more than 8.5 points. So, the nothing personal picks of the day are Tampa over the Tigers tonight. Keep track. Oklahoma City over the Pacers Sunday, and under SGA points and over Halliburton points. Remember, odds subject to change. We are 80 and 83. You may not remember, but a few days ago, it was Corbin Day. The Royals were favored over the Rangers. Our main man, Jack, I did another show, Coca. What show was it? Oh, Foul Territory. I did that yesterday, and there were people upset. Whit Merrifield apparently doesn't like me because I said, don't bring up Jack, and Jack was brought up, and I said it's wrong. Well, Jack now hit 2 home runs in a game, and now all of a sudden I'm a worse devil than before, but my whole point was how good Jack is. But we did have the Royals, who have not been playing great, by the way. We had them over the Rangers because it's Corbin Day, and that's what we do. And guess what? It won. Then last night, we were sweating out Halliburton over 13.5 points. He went 1 for his first 5. He was laying bricks as though he was trying to build a home. And then he hit a few threes. He had 12 points going into halftime. Scores a bucket early in the third. Boom. When you can do an over and win it that early, you think, my God, what a great day. That's the great thing about going with an over. Thing is, he didn't score another point. He ended up with 14. But guess what? That's a win, and we're 80 and 83. All right, after the break, guess what? Get ready. It's Coca time.
Yeah. All right. We are good. Yes. Someone said, show your ink, please, Mr. Coca. People are weird. Last chance to back out. Coca time. Get him, Coca. Time for It's Personal with Coca. Oh, my mic is hot. Well, chat, you are getting an exclusive.
Welcome back to hour 2 of Nothing Personal, episode 1300. It is June 20th, 2025. It's a Friday, and you know what Friday means. It means that I can sit back and relax and enjoy listening to your producer, the best producer, Matthew Coca, joins the show every Friday for hour 2 and tells me all the things that he disagrees with, all the things that he doesn't like that I said, all the things that he wishes I had said. Come on, Coca, join me. There he is. So, by the way, it's an audio show, so you're being silently dabbing, and
well, I was just
tell.
like, that was like my big reveal. That was my big reveal right there. Well, even though everybody in chat heard me before because my mic was hot, you know. So that
is that a
intro
button that you pressed wrong?
Well, no, it's just like the intro that you just gave me about being the best producer. Like I have to be downgraded a little bit because my mic was hot.
So the reason why we like to have you on, and why when we were coming up with this second hour show, it's your second Friday doing this, and the reason that we both agreed to do this is that people, if your mic were only hot during our pre-shows every single day when we do a pre-production meeting or a post-production or meetings the night before, you've got myriad opinions, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't, but you also have amazing points about things that you're disappointed that I covered wrong or incorrectly in your mind or not enough or things I didn't cover at all. And so we said, fine, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. It's time to get on the show yourself. And it takes courage. And I appreciate you doing it. You look great. This is not how Coca looks on a normal, ordinary day when we do a pre-show. But I guess that you get yourself all primed. Do you have makeup on?
No.
Because you're a little shiny, which is fine.
Well, those are just like things that I don't really care about. You know, we're just talking sports. I don't really feel like it's necessary to make up myself to talk sports. I'm just an average person like the rest of the people in chat. So let's get to it.
Go.
All right, I want to start with the Lakers sale, which you talked about in the beginning of the show. One of the things that everybody seems to be talking about and all over is what an expansion fee is going to cost. And a lot of rumors are that number could be like 5 billion or 6 billion. I just want to understand where your head's at with that number. If the Celtics just sold for 6.1 or 7.2, and that is, to you, the third or fourth, highest valuation that you can have for a team in the NBA, how can they use that as the baseline for an expansion fee for a team that isn't as established as the Celtics are, or the Lakers are, or the Warriors are, or what the Knicks would be?
Yeah, it's certainly, Coca, you're right. And we touched on it yesterday on the Dominique Foxworth show, and I got a bet going that I want to tell you about because he agrees with you that the expansion fees are just going to be huge now because of these transactions. And I just don't see it that way. And I don't know how you find a person to spend over $3 billion just to have the right to sit at a table. And the argument is, well, you're now getting 1/32 of a huge TV deal. That's true, but let's even say that's $250 million a year. You have to start a franchise. Expansion means it's way harder than relocating a franchise because you end up having to build the entire infrastructure. Think about the number of employees that you need to hire. Think about the things that you need to do whenever you start something, even logo development, just things that you wouldn't think of, thinking of a name, which you may think is cheap and means nothing. Everything costs money. And what's the universe of people where they would write a $3 billion check or a $5 billion check just to say hello when expansion fees, they've been, some would say, we talked about it earlier, John Fisher only paid 20 million, but they're for MLS, but there's some people who've paid 500 million. It's gotten close to $1 billion, but to skip and go all the way to 5 billion. So you'd be raising money to pay the expansion fee. Then you'd need a whole other bunch of money. And here's the problem. The expansion cities are not what you described, LA, Chicago, New York. A team in Seattle is not worth $5 billion, no matter how you slice it. So therefore, an expansion fee cannot be even close to what the total team value is because no one would do that deal. So, Coca, we'll find out, but I would take the under, though I don't think you and I are getting an expansion team, but I would take the under on 5 billion. I took the under on 3 billion.
What are the additional costs that go into it? So let's say, Charlotte. Charlotte gets an expansion team and they have to pay,
Don't they have
4
a
or
team?
5. Oh, sorry, not Charlotte. Why did I say Charlotte? We'll stick with Seattle.
Say Vegas. How about
all right,
Vegas?
Las Vegas. Las
LeBron
Vegas
and
gets an
Shaq are
expansion
trying
team.
to go to Vegas.
Yeah, but I didn't want to say Las Vegas because they have arenas and everything built there. I don't know why I said Charlotte. But they have arenas and everything that are already built there, so they don't have to pay that cost to build an arena if it's already there. If it's somewhere else that doesn't, so Nashville, we'll use Nashville. If Nashville gets an expansion team and they have to build an arena, does that go into the expansion fee cost, or is that not part of it at all?
Yeah, you have to consider that. And these places where you're talking about, Seattle, they have an arena ready to go for hockey. Could it be ready for basketball as well? They're saying yes. The Nashville Predators, aren't they still an NHL team? Mm-hmm. And so there, you could certainly share that arena. But we know from Miami, when two owners couldn't get together to share an arena, guess what they did? They built separate arenas. The Clippers and Lakers couldn't share, so Ballmer said, I want my own. Wayne Huizenga and Mickey Arison in Miami couldn't share, so they built Amarant Arena, which just hoisted the cup for the second time a couple days ago out in Sunrise. So I don't think that these owners of a new expansion team would want to share any arena with anybody, because the thing is, when you're doing your projections, in order to excuse such high prices for a franchise, you actually need to figure out how to get the concomitant revenue. And to do that, you don't want to be a tenant. You want to be the landlord. It's always better to own. You want to be able to exploit every possible inch of that place. And so when you are building an expansion organization, you absolutely have to figure out how much money is coming in from the public for an arena. Coca, when the Nationals were sold, do you remember when MLB bought the Expos from our owner, Jeffrey Loria? And
well,
MLB
I don't remember. Well, I was going to say I don't remember it. But I remember it through you.
How old were you in 2002?
12.
So it was a big transaction back then.
Yeah, but as a 12-year-old, I'm not sitting there like, oh my God, who is running the Expos right now? I could probably name like 5 players on the Mets at that point.
So Tony Tavares was running the Expos with Omar Minaya as the GM, but they were a warden of the state, basically, owned by MLB. And when MLB sold the Expos to the Lerner family, Ted Lerner and his children, they were going to be moved to Washington. And the way that they got Ted Lerner to pay $425 million back in 04-05 for the Nationals is they were going to a place where there was a fully funded new baseball ballpark that is now known as Nationals Park. Why does that help the franchise price? Because money that they would have to spend on the ballpark, they can now spend on giving to baseball to pay for the team. So when you are hoping for a big expansion fee, you've got to negotiate with the cities who are trying to get expansion franchises. Hey, we'll consider you, but you better build an entire arena fully publicly funded, because that will enable the new owner to give us money that he would otherwise give you. So that's what I'm looking for in some of these deals.
The other piece of the Lakers sale that I want you to sort of hit on is there are a lot of media people who are expecting the Lakers to be big spenders now because Mark Walter and the way that he runs the Dodgers and paying all this money to acquire talent. But when you look at the luxury taxes and the second aprons and all the penalties that can come from being these big spenders, and then you see the crosstown team with Steve Ballmer, who has significantly more money than Mark Walter does, who is not being one of these, these violators of the second apron. Do you think that people just sort of see the number of billions that Guggenheim has, and they think that is going to translate into a team that's going to be a repeat offender of the luxury tax?
Yeah, there's nothing sexier than a new owner coming in and having the whole fan base thinking, hey, this is our Steve Cohen. This is our guy. He's just going to spend and spend and spend. The Dodgers are a funny example. Mark Walter has built a great organization. They win a ton, as you know. I want to say 12, 11 titles out of 12. San Francisco won the 12th. They've won 2 World Series. They're best in class in all sorts of places. They poached Andrew Friedman from Tampa immediately and paid him $10 million to become their president of baseball operations. They use their money as the way a bully would, by trading for hurt players and paying them to rehab. They use their money to get extra young players. They take on bad contracts. They don't care that Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell and Sasaki are all hurt, because they'll just keep signing players. There's no salary cap in baseball. You can't do that in basketball. It is totally, totally irresponsible to run a basketball team in the second apron. And by the way, you're going to see teams like Cleveland, Minnesota, all of these teams figure out they haven't won a title yet, but all of a sudden their rosters are getting super expensive because they're signing all these players to the max, trying to keep a team together that they think has a chance with an upward trajectory. But then they realize, wait a minute, I may be rich, and the reason I'm rich is that I'm smart. And being smart means being responsible. Being responsible means running a team that doesn't lose money. People say that Jerry Buss, somehow, his family, a bunch of cheap mom and pops. Every time, I want you to take a drink, Coca, every time someone says mom and pop for the Buss family, they are far from mom and pop, I assure you. But it's your way of saying, oh, I guess LA is going to be different. I don't view it that way. Mark Walter will come into that franchise. He'll recognize some efficiencies, but then he's going to realize that, wow, a salary cap league really is totally different. That was a good one, Coca. Did you come up with that on your own?
Yeah, that's how this works.
Oh, it does. I thought that you came up with things that you didn't like that I said. I thought you came up with things.
Well, it's just I think sometimes with these big topics, you need sort of a sounding board, like somebody who can bring up questions that you have yet to answer, because there's a lot that you need to discuss on your own. So I feel like I can, I fit that void that you have there. But I want to switch gears here and go to the Dodgers, Mark Walter's other team. And did you see what happened yesterday with Dave Roberts and Mike Schilt getting at each other because of hit batters? That is a rivalry. When people talk about rivalries in sports, the Dodgers and the Padres, there's so much bad blood there that's just carried over the years that is a real rivalry right now in sports that people can look at and just say, like, these two teams hate each other. How did you feel about that?
Do you have a younger brother, Coca?
No, I don't.
Do you have any younger siblings?
I have a younger sister and an older brother.
So you're the middle. That actually explains a lot. Yeah. I'm wondering, when your younger sibling does something, do you sort of, as the older sibling, you're like, you're so annoying, like, just stop? Because that's what I think the Padres are to the Dodgers. The Padres so badly want to be the Dodgers. They view it as such a rivalry. Have you ever had that in sports where one side thinks it's a rivalry, but it's so one-sided that it's not actually a rivalry?
No, I disagree. Because the way that the Dodgers respond to what the Padres do proves that it is a rivalry and not really this one-way street. Because when you're hitting you're hitting Fernando Tatis twice in a series, like that to me says like, oh, they're going to respond. Like they're always
Everyone
going
wants to
to
hit Tatis.
I don't know about everyone. There's no need to in a different game, but in that game, and I didn't appreciate them throwing it high and inside to hit him. I didn't like that part of it because now the dude is hurt and now he could miss games if something is wrong. Like if you're going to hit, like you always say, you aim for the meat of the butt, and that's sort of what happened in the bottom of the ninth inning when Shohei Ohtani was hit. But it's like if you're going to throw at somebody and they've been throwing at each other this entire series, like don't hurt the guy.
Well, you're not trying. I mean, I don't want to defend any of this, but when we call on a hitter to be hit, which we've done, man, you do it several times a year. You definitely, the pitchers know that you're hitting your spot, which is either in between the numbers or right on the tuchus. You do not throw it up and in. We are not headhunting. I think Tony La Russa, and I don't want to impugn him, but man, do I want to impugn him. The Cardinals were not very good about that. They were very interested in hitting players in places that we didn't want players to be hit, and it creates a lot of angst between teams. We very much didn't like the Cardinals as a team, and I love St. Louis, and I love the owners, the DeWitt family, but we were not big fans of Mr. La Russa and the way he operated. But clearly, Dave Roberts is not calling for anyone to hit anybody in a way that hurts a player. No matter how much you don't like a team or a player, you just wouldn't do that. The problem is, and why MLB doesn't want these unwritten rules to become written or to be played out on the field, is you have a weapon in your hand. A baseball in the hand of a pitcher is an actual weapon, and sometimes weapons misfire. And a misfired ball that's being pitched purposefully to hit someone can end up hurting a player, and that's not good for anybody.
The other thing that happened that I want to bring to everybody's attention is before the game even started, when there was that situation at the ballpark where the Dodgers believed that it was ICE that showed up and they denied them entry, and it turned out that it was Border Patrol that did it. So there was a misunderstanding of the government agency that was there. I don't want to really talk too much about the immigration policies, but I want to sort of discuss a tweet was sent out by the Dodgers, and it was a statement that sort of said, hey, we denied this. The game is still going to go on later today. Would that be a situation where you, as president of the team, would want to come out and say something as opposed to just having a tweet sent out on social media just because of how toxic social media has become? Is that something where it's like, hey, I want to get in touch with my government contacts and see who is coming to my ballpark, what is happening at my ballpark, because I have employees, I have players on the team, I have fans coming to the game, and I want to make sure that everybody is safe at Dodger Stadium when they're coming for these games. So I didn't like that. I like that there was a denial, but I didn't like that the Dodgers came out with a statement so soon and didn't have a name attached to that statement. Like president says, hey, this is what happened. Let me explain to you this situation. Is that something
Coca,
that you would have handled differently?
Yeah, let's go back. And anytime there's a PR statement, you have the discussion internally, who's going to be associated with it, or is it just from the team? And the choices are the owner, the president of baseball operations, the GM, the manager. Those sometimes it's the VP of marketing, sometimes it's the VP of sales when you're announcing ticket programs, or marketing when you're announcing a slogan. So you try to assign something to somebody, but there are other times when you just make it generic and you just make it, the team has released this. Here's the thing about politics and baseball. You've got two things that you have to do when you know you've got a situation at your ballpark. You're in touch with local politicians through your government department. We had people who worked for us, and every team does. Their job is to interact with local politicians. They know them. They're with them all the time. So you have them figure out, hey, what's happening here? What do we need to know? How much advance notice do we have? The second thing is you're dealing with the commissioner's office. You are absolutely in touch with the commissioner's office about how are we responding to this? What kind of statement are we going to make? What is going on in the global macro world of baseball? And then let's talk about what's going on in the micro world of Los Angeles. I totally understand why they did it, a release as a team. Twitter is, listen, you're just making me feel old. I assume that they view, Coca, that Twitter is the best way to communicate to the masses versus a press release where you'd literally fax it or email it to media members to put it out in the news. That was originally what a press release is for. Isn't a press release to Twitter the right way to do it now?
Get in front of a camera. Like, I feel like this is too big of a situation where it's like, hey, we're just going to send something out to Twitter, because the issue that I have with social media right now is that I think there should be two rules, two laws, whatever you want to call it, for politicians, and it's they shouldn't be able to trade stocks, and they shouldn't be able to use social media like they use social media. Because it divides us so much, and it just makes people so angry. And it's like, I don't need ICE coming out and responding to the Dodgers in the way that they're doing it, just to get all these bots or people just going crazy. That's why I think that, if you're the president, or if you're Andrew Friedman, or you get out in front of a camera, you're at the stadium.
It would not be Andrew Friedman. It would be Stan Kasten.
Yeah, he did release a statement later, but it just sort of had to do with whatever sort of plan that they were supposed to announce yesterday. They said they're going to push back, and they're going to announce today. But it's just, I think that when it's something as big as this, just get in front of a camera, get there. But I also think that you have to get the facts right before you do something like that. So I appreciate what the Dodgers did on one part, but on the other side, it's like, hey, let's use our contacts, because you always talk about having government contacts, and the league knows people, and the team has people on speed dial. So it's just like, let's get facts right before we come out with these very polarizing stories.
Coca, I'm so happy that you just used an expression that I thought was done with young people. Is speed dial still a thing? I don't think anyone has speed dial anymore. That what used to be when you had a landline, or you could set numbers in as speed dial. Do you have any numbers? You have favorites. I think that's what we should call it now. That we have government officials as favorites.
Well, I think I call anything where you don't have to look for the person's number. So you're not texting somebody else saying like, hey, can I get your number? I think everybody else is like, oh, that's a number. That's, to me now, that's speed dial.
So any contact in your phone?
If the contact is in your phone, not one like, oh, do I have, Billy Smith's number in my phone? Let me go through my contacts to see if it's there. But it's like, if it's somebody that and it's somebody that's there, like, let's just call it.
What is the total number of contacts you have in your phone? Do you know? Is there a way to find out?
Yeah, I think it tells you if you go to contacts and you scroll all the way down to the bottom. I think it gives you the number. Yeah,
it used to, but now it doesn't.
I have 248. No, it definitely does. Because I just looked at it.
I'm showing you the bottom of the bottom. It goes Z and then numbers, like building numbers, etc.
And keep going.
Yeah, I'm down at the bottom.
All right, well, different phones.
I believe that I have like 2,500 contacts. But I also know that I've got some doubles, which I have not gotten rid of. And I don't get rid of dead people. Do you take dead people out of your contacts?
I'd have to go through and sort of do some research on that. I don't know. Like, I don't think I have my dad's cell phone number in here. But then again, like, I didn't even have a cell phone. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think I.
What about the big man?
I'd have to go through my phone and sort of see, maybe put a bucket together of dead people, start a group text, and see if one of them will respond.
I mean, I'm literally looking at my grandpa's sheet and my dad's. I never took my sister out. They're all right here. I've thought of calling the number from time to time. I don't know that they reassign numbers, but they may. There's so many numbers. I guess they'd run out. They have to reassign them. So I guess
that's how. Don't you've never gotten like You never like called somebody before and they're like, "Oh, sorry, wrong number." And you're like, "Hold on, I thought this was, this person, but it's not." Like they do it because it's just
Do
like
you answer calls when it's a number not in your contacts? Like if a random number comes up, you're going to answer that call?
Yeah, I think the phones do a good job now and just like let you know when something is going to be spam and when something isn't. So if it like pops up and it doesn't say spam risk, I'll usually just answer it and just say like, "Hey, what's going on?" I mean, it could be something because here's the another problem is people don't leave voicemails anymore.
I
Like
do.
if you call and it goes to voicemail, let me know why you're calling me. Because like we've entered this world where like text messages is the way that we communicate. But like if you're going to take the time to call somebody, then there's usually a reason for that phone call. So just let me know what it is because it could be an emergency, it could be like maybe it's not. So maybe I was doing something, maybe I wasn't, or maybe it's a number that wasn't in my phone and it's something really important that I have to get back to, but nobody leaves a voicemail anymore.
As it stands, I've never gotten a call where I've answered it and someone has said, "Grandma?" Never gotten that. But you never know.
I mean, they never call. Oh, okay, go. Just go on. Go on.
I want to talk about something that happened in MLB. And you had told me that you were going to disagree with me on this. So I don't want you to disagree, but you could if you want. I want to talk about Rob. And he's doing a lot more in the public space than he used to. So I don't know if you've noticed, but he's going on more shows. He's giving more interviews, making more appearances, and it's purposeful. A, he's been around longer than, obviously today than he was yesterday. But B, they're heading into a collective bargaining negotiation. And C, the public view of Rob back during the last CBA, it was like the image of him swinging a golf club in our spring training facility. I don't know if you remember that, but it was just sort of, hey, commissioners can't be popular. So he's trying to become relatable, and he's trying to purposefully, with his great PR people, go into a negotiation with a different Q rating. And I'm here for it. I like it. And he gave an interview yesterday where he talked about free agency. And I want to get your opinion of this because it's going to be different than mine. He is upset with baseball free agency because he views the NBA and NFL as way more exciting because we do shows like the first day of free agency and all these deals happen, which of course tampering is how they happen. And MLB, you can have free agency from October to February or March, and he wants to change that. He wants to have a deadline, and we've talked about that, Coca, for years inside meetings in baseball. Why don't we make free agency a 30-day period? And the union has always said no, because that will have a quashing impact on contracts. Where are you on that?
It should be a tier system. Like arbitration is a tier system where you find out how much a player is going to get paid because of their accolades. So there is some sort of number, there that you would say like, oh, Juan Soto in arbitration would get $30 million in that final year of arbitration. So you know that he is significantly better than somebody else. So why don't they do that when it comes to some of these guys that are going to be free agents and they just have different tiers? And you say, if you are an A-tier player, you have 1 month to sign. And that's what keeps things exciting for everyone else. And that way people and other teams aren't waiting to see, oh, where is this person going to sign? Where's that person going to sign? And you just go down the list and you have an A tier, a B tier, and a C tier. And it's just like you give the B tier, 2 months to sign. And then the C tier players, you can sign whenever you want. But the exciting players are the people that are the players that everybody is waiting for. So when a Juan Soto is there or a Shohei Ohtani is there, I don't want to be sitting there all off season and being like, oh, when is this player going to sign? When is this player going to sign? Because it's just sort of forgetful. And you're in the middle of the NFL season and you have the NBA starting to go there. So there's just a lot, and the NHL is happening too. So there's a lot that's going on. So if Major League Baseball wants to do something, I think a tiered system in spending is a way that they can keep that interest, is knowing that, hey, from
Coca,
November 1st, go on.
How do you explain, though, that in a negotiation, the way the leverage happens is when the clock is running out. And so if you've got a player who has to sign by midnight on the 29th of November, why wouldn't teams wait till 11:58 and say, hey, take it or leave it? You're not going to be able to extract another dollar out of me because the sand is out of the hourglass. What's your argument?
That's an interesting argument to make. But there needs to be something, it's just, figure it out. Maybe there's team penalties associated with it, which you couldn't do because then on the player side, the player would just wait until that date is done. I don't have
Does the transfer portal have a period? Is the portal
there's
only
a window.
Open? A window is
correct,
what I meant.
Correct. Yeah, the transfer window. That is correct. So once that happens, the team can no longer, sign a player or pay for a transfer. But it's a completely different process because the players who are in these transfer windows are currently on teams. So that's the issue, is that we're not talking about free agents. Mostly we're talking about players who already are on a team and have a deal. But when it comes to baseball, I just don't understand the player side of thing about the unwillingness to sign. I mean, we just saw it with Aaron Rodgers, where Aaron Rodgers, waits and waits and waits and waits and waits.
Did that bother you?
Waits. It would have bothered me, if I was in the Steelers front office, maybe, unless the Steelers knew all along that Aaron Rodgers was going to come there. But that didn't really bother me. And I'm not really bothered with Major League Baseball not having any sort of window. I'm just talking from, the perspective of why they would want some sort of free agent window.
Rob said that free agency is like the baton death march. It starts the day after the World Series. This is his quote. In February, really, really good players are still wandering around the landscape. And so what he wants to do is change free agency to make it a period. But here's why. And this is what he's not going to say, because this is what we talked about. And this is going to upset the commissioner. But the reason why they want a period is for the reason I said, that it has a quashing impact on free agency and the amount of the contracts. But the union knows that. So if you're going to get a change in the free agent period, you are clearly going to have to give something back to the players, because where MLB and the owners can be is, hey, you're right. In terms of the upper market, Ohtani, Soto, it's in their best interest to have no deadline, because teams will get desperate, the fan bases will get frothy, and then all of a sudden you'll do 765 over 15 years. But for mid-level and lower-level free agents, whether they wait till February or sign in November, their worth is their worth. So I think what you may see is some sort of compromises you've talked about, where every free agent has a period they have to sign, except only one upper-level tier, because it's not a big part of the union. It's only a small number of players. But if you qualify as a blank, and we'd have to think about how a player would qualify, then you've got all the time you want. But everybody else, it's going to be a structured period. And I think that MLB is going to get there in the next CBA.
Yeah, but wouldn't that just be the complete opposite of what I was saying? So it's like these B and C tier level players. Like, why would a team sign those players when you're waiting for the big fish? So it's just, I just think MLB is the only league where this sort of thing happens. It's the only one where they're not trying to get out ahead of things. In the NBA, you have that one frenzy of a day, like right off the bat too, where these big names are signing places. I think in the NFL you get that somewhat, but a lot of the really big names aren't becoming free agents like they are in the NBA, where it's like these teams are just dying to announce their deals. Where like baseball, it's just like, everybody just takes their time.
Well, you're not. It's funny to me in basketball, because obviously it's all tampering when all these players sign so quickly. If you get a free agent to sign the minute free agency starts, I've told you my Jose Reyes story. It's my favorite story. You can't start negotiating with a player until midnight officially. Well, we had met with the agents. We had spoken to the player. He was a Met at the time, your team, after the 2011 season. And we met him at midnight at a bar. We asked for a meeting at 12 midnight because that's the first time you can legally start. At that time, it was 7 days after the World Series or 5 days. I can't remember. And we just offered him the extra year and offered him over $100 million or whatever it was. And he signed, and that was that. But in order to get a player signed, you have to tamper with him. And everybody's tampering with him. And in the NFL, when they make, or NBA, when they make these announcements, like Jalen Brunson, didn't he sign quickly with the Knicks when he was a free agent coming from Dallas? Or I may have it wrong, Coca. And I know you don't want to look while you're also on the show and producing the show. But
he might have. But and that was like one of those ones where, Dallas wasn't going to give him the money that he wanted to get. And then his dad was the assistant coach or hired as the assistant coach. So it was one of those things.
I just think that in baseball, there will be a change. Can we do an official wait to see in the middle of a second hour of the show? I think I can.
Show. It's your
Will
show.
You put it in the document at davidsamsonpodcast.com where we have every wait to see? See, look at Coca. If you're watching this on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel or on DK Network, you're seeing Coca lean over, showing just the slightest possibility of ink as he puts in a document. He's got like 5 screens. We're big time at Meadowlark now, Coca. You got multiple screens. You got a microphone. You got a camera. Wait to see. There will be free agency changes in the new CBA in MLB. What Rob is doing by basically messaging out his view on certain issues, he's letting it be known to the union, because that's who he's talking to here. He's letting it be known that they're going after some stuff. He was very, very cautious about talking about salary caps and salary floors, but he's been much less cautious talking about other ancillary issues, secondary issues, sometimes even tertiary issues. And I believe free agency comes in that pile because what MLB will do is they'll say, we're going for the cap. And they'll tell the union that. And they'll keep telling them that for months and months and months. Then they'll come off the cap and say, fine, no cap, but we've got to have a collar on free agency because it's out of control. And that's when the union says, well, no cap, then all right, we'll agree to that. Because in collective bargaining, you come up with this list. We used to have this in baseball, and they still do, I'm sure. We have a list. We have a list of what are called the RHIs, the red herring issues. It's issues that we're going to pretend are a big deal and that we want from the union. But the reason they're called RHIs, red herring issues, is, we don't care that much about them. We're okay giving it up, but we want to make it seem like we don't want to. So when we do give it up, we are then going to get something in return. Mark my words, Coca, you should have a bunch of RHIs in your relationship, in your life, because then it will make you look good and get you what you want when it looks like you're giving stuff up that you never really wanted in the first place.
The big thing going on right now in the hockey world, outside of the Panthers winning back-to-back Stanley Cups, we hit on it. Gary Bettman has hit on it, but it's still the biggest talking point right now when it comes to fans is
what?
The Florida taxes. Where everybody just thinks that the Florida Panthers are this good team and people want to stay there because of taxes.
Did they not listen to our show?
But it's just like doesn't Arizona not have income tax, state income tax?
The Coyotes were a great franchise.
They lost their team. There's no income tax in Texas either, and the Dallas Stars still can't get over that hump, and now they have to trade. But now they have to, but they also just have to trade everybody. So they have to blow things up because they have no cap room to sign all the players that are on their team. And it's just
don't the Panthers? The Panthers can't bring their same team back, can they?
Well, they can, but that's the whole thing, is that the Panthers can bring their team back if players take less money because of this state income tax. But it's like, how come?
Why can't the Stars do that?
Yeah, but it's like what the Marlins or the Rays or the Orlando Magic. Like, why can't the Orlando Magic get these huge free agents to come down to Orlando? Or the Miami Heat? In recent years they got the Jimmy Butler, but now like who else? There's always been the thing about the Heat can't bring in another free agent to come down there. But it's just like, why aren't every Why doesn't every Florida team just win every title every single year if that was the only thing that mattered? The only thing
in
that
hockey,
mattered
they do.
was no income tax.
In hockey, they do, actually. It's been the Lightning and the Panthers who have been crushing it the last few years. But
Yeah,
I would tell you that
this has been around since 2005. What
Yeah,
happened How come the Panthers in prior years couldn't have been this dynasty in prior years?
so it's all total horse hockey. It has nothing to do with it. Do you know why Albert Pujols signed with the Angels and not the Marlins? And we had a negotiated deal. It had nothing to do with state tax. It had nothing to do with anything. His wife at the time didn't want him in Miami. She thought that he would be too distracted and potentially stray. That's a thing. People would, let me tell you where I stand on this. We tell the player, here's what your take-home money is. If we are offering you $5 million and the Mets are offering you $5 million, here's what your check will be every 2 weeks from April to September. What you do is now up to you, but if you're going to go to the Mets, make sure they pay you more in gross wages than we are offering you, because in a tie, you're going to be happier being a Marlin. Plus, you are going to get residency in Florida because you will spend 6 months and a day in Florida or more time in Florida than you do anywhere else. Plus, you'll play more of your games in Florida, so your federal income tax will be less. Quick note for you, they calculate federal income tax will be the same, but when you play more games in Florida, you actually pay fewer dollars in taxes because players pay taxes in every state in which they operate. And so you want to play as many games in Florida as you can. The number of players who have made a decision to come to us because of state income tax differences, hold on, I'm going to count. Give me a minute. 0.
Well, I just want to make a correction. Arizona does have a state income tax. So I messed that
What
up.
are the states that don't?
Nevada doesn't have state income tax.
The Golden Knights won a cup.
Yeah.
Maybe it does make a difference. The Lightning, the Golden Nuggets, are they the only 3 teams who have won
the Golden
Stanley
Nuggets?
Cups?
The Golden Nugget is the casino.
Knights. Thank you.
I mean, this is top tier expert level NHL talk from us right now.
Just because I get names wrong, it doesn't even know.
I mean, I just got a whole state wrong with when it comes to income tax, so it doesn't really.
I was thinking about my dad who lived in Arizona when he was alive, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure there was state tax, but when you said it, that's our relationship. When you say something, Coca, I just assume it's right. Like, I don't assume that you're full of it at all. I assume that you've got facts, you've got research, and you've got information. I love the fact that you admit when you're wrong, because that's what we do on Nothing Personal. We're wrong plenty. It's okay. We continue. So this whole taxes argument, dismiss it. It's fun for other teams to say, because when you're not the Panthers, you get to say to your owner, how can we compete with that? They have no state tax. When in fact, what they're trying to compete with is people making better personnel decisions, having a better organization. So I never used it as either a sword or a shield. I just said it's a fact of life.
What do you think of, there was a story that came out about Craig Breslow and his hiring process, and it said that he was using AI as a way of going through candidates to fill sort of positions. Where is your head at when it comes to, using an AI model for these things? Is it something where it's just like, oh, this is overblown? I've met Craig Breslow before. The guy has a brain. He is not robotic.
He's a Yelly.
Yeah, he's smart enough to make these decisions. Where do you stand on just where that is in terms of hiring?
I'd like to speak to the audience right now and say, hi, I'm David. When you're interviewing at companies that are large companies, you can bet your sweet bippy you're interviewing with AI to start with. I also promise you, before you get a job, you will eventually meet with someone with a pulse. But the reason why AI goes through resumes, do you know that even in industries, all my kids in their industries, everybody in their 20s right now, when you send out a resume, that resume is being looked at and screened by AI. It's being filtered by AI. Then that's why resumes are so important. Don't have spelling mistakes. Make sure your experience is very clear. Make sure it is very on brand with what job you're applying for. Don't want to work in the beverage industry and send the same resume to Pepsi and Coke and forget to change the Pepsi to Coke, because AI will see that and you'll be eliminated immediately. Don't spell any word wrong. You'll be eliminated immediately. Don't have run-on sentences or fragments. You'll be eliminated immediately. So AI always does first round, sometimes second round. I've got another one for you, Coca. Sometimes you actually do a video interview with AI where you go into like a booth and you are answering questions that is AI generated, and AI uses the answers to those questions to again break down whether you should make it to the next level. What the Red Sox are doing is totally normal. It is what everybody is doing and will be doing going forward. Why? Because it makes sense. But man, the Red Sox get bad rap for that, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, the other part of the Devers trade is this conversation that people still have when it comes to using analytics versus having a feel, a quote-unquote feel.
I agree.
And it always confuses me that people, when I say people, I'm talking about fans and I'm talking about some, members of the media, where it's analytics is this big thing that they use in every conversation, where they say, batting average is something that we shouldn't use anymore. On base percentage, maybe you shouldn't use that. The counting stats.
Don't use wins when you're evaluating pitchers.
Yeah, but it's like if Craig Breslow is using what is there and it is this analytic format for him, and he's saying, hey, the numbers are telling us if we move on from, Rafael Devers and we bring up these guys at a cheaper number, and it's sort of it's cost efficient to do these things. Why is he getting so much hate? Is it because it's Devers and the amount of money that he was making, and and he is a really good player? Because I feel like they should be like, hey, Craig Breslow is doing what we would do in that situation, where we're using the numbers that are in front of us to make these decisions that we feel is best for the team? Or is it a situation where nobody knows how to run a team but the people who are running the team?
Well, that's what I would say, is all the people who are telling you how to run a team, like Jeff Passan, have never run a team. So Scott Boras, same thing. He's never run a team. He just likes criticizing how teams are run. There are a lot of people in the media like that. But it's a little different in that we used analytics back in 2003, but we also used our eyes. And I view analytics as one arrow in the quiver of how to run a good franchise. But you need scouts to actually look at players, talk to players, look in their eyes, see what's in their heart, see what's between their ears. You can have great physical skills, and if you're brainless, you're not going to make it. But we just talked in the show about TJ McConnell.
Yeah.
He is not, you wouldn't look at him and say he's the most talented basketball player in the world. So analytics would tell you TJ McConnell, a roster spot, forget about it. But when you watch him and see what he is on the court, you're like, that's the guy we need. Let's put him on the team. The Devers situation is that Craig Breslow has said, you're trading him. Like, that's it. He won't play the field. He talked against ownership. He talked against you. We're trading him. Hard stop. So that had nothing to do with analytics. That was not an analytic trade. That was an emo trade for sure. And the fact that they were able to get the Giants to pay all the money is a benefit. The fact that they got a few live bodies back is a benefit. But for Craig Breslow to only use analytics, it's just not right. Nobody uses only analytics. Do they use more than others? Maybe. But always you're going to use feel. There are certain places where we overrule feel. So, for example, in a game, when there is a first and second, you're down a run, and there's no outs, and the thought is, let's bunt the winning run into scoring position. The fact is, analytics tell you do not give an out. 33% of your inning, don't give it away, because we have just as good a chance as a gapper or a home run. And so we're not going to allow feel to overwhelm and overcome a decision in that situation. But when it comes to player evaluation and team building, feel is definitely a part of it.
I'm going to take the Thunder on Sunday. I've decided
To
I'm going to take
crush,
the Thunder.
right?
Well, I don't know if they're going to crush them. I just feel that
Will you
the
lay in the
Thunder.
points or not?
It's such a big number, but the Thunder never get rattled. It's like
You just said I'm taking the Thunder. You mean on the money line or with the points?
No. I mean, I just like the Thunder to win. I don't know if they're going to win by the spread. I'm not putting any shekels on it, but I just like that they really never get rattled. Like they lose that game by 20 points, they come back the next game and they look like the Thunder team.
Short memory.
Yeah, so
when we
I
come
like
back
that.
Monday, there's going to be a champion, Coca.
Yeah, I like that with Shea. Like I feel like Shea is one of those leaders who just doesn't get rattled. He doesn't get angry. And I think the Thunder can bounce back, and I think they win it at home.
That's the last word of the show. We'll be back Monday, right? We're going to do this live Monday at 7 a.m. Remember, Coca Fridays. We'll be back Monday to talk about the NBA championship and various other things because it's just business. Thank you, Coca. This is nothing personal.